The eyes of fear, head of pain, face of evil, and some king. Chapter 5. Meeting in the Air. Midday, Roger was still walking toward the eastern road to the edge of the lost forest. It wasn't long until he came right up to an oak tree. He placed his right hand on it and waited. An owl watched up from up far to his left. It did its usual thing, spinning its head, and then suddenly it spoke. The words sank directly into his mind.
What business do you have in my forest, Roger?
The owl had yellow eyes so alive that it looked like the flame of a torch. Holding up the letter,
I'm ready to meet with the others. There's another one who's coming too. His name is Phil.
Is he allowed to be here? I wasn't told there would be, too.
Yes, he received a note to come here as well. Don't lead him astray. He should be wearing the same symbol on my earlobe like this.
Roger grabs his left earlobe, and the owl's eyes peers closer to inspect.
It resembles an eye.
It was a scar made by some knife, a very simple one that would go overlooked if you didn't check the underside of the ear.
More of you to the fold. I will be no one's keeper. I've already allowed too many of you in. I'm tired. I've divided myself too thin. Wait for him here, and place your hand upon the tree again. Once you're ready, then I'll open a path for the both of you.
You want me to wait? I don't know when he'll show up.
The owl did not respond and instead flew away.
All right.
Roger waited a few hours for his compatriot to arrive. As Phil could be seen over the horizon, and he was a very built man. He was medium in height, but not physically fit to the point where his muscles bended his cotton clothes. He hid a mystique around him for wearing a gray hat. He waved a reluctant short hand and sighed from afar. As he drew in closer, he looked into Roger's eyes and stepped in closer for a hug. It felt long overdue and had a heavy lift to it.
To be honest, I thought it was a trap.
He went to his pocket and pulled out a white open letter.
The way it was written.
I'm glad to see you, old friend. Now, as for the reason we're here,
Roger looked serious.
I'm sure you know that Crowd wants to hold a meeting.
I thought it was a joke. We don't have anywhere left to run. It's not how it used to be. Is he on his deathbed or something?
He's not. He wants to start a new organization.
He's too old. You know that it won't be too long before it goes tits up.
It's different now the union is dissolved.
Yeah, and that's the problem. So what's in it for me, or you?
We can't keep drifting from place to place forever. The reach the Pilgrims have is extending, and they'll eventually lock us up.
Even if they did, they won't kill us. They're softies. The only thing they do is brainwash us and make us into one of their fucking angelic angels.
You'd let them erase you, make you their thrall.
It's gonna happen eventually. Why stop it? Let me roam around until it's time. I'll be old man number 2.
Stopping Phil from turning his back and leaving.
We could try one more time. We have nothing to lose, like you say.
Fine. Might as well see the old man again, since I came all this way.
Roger placed his hand on the tree again and walked into the forest with Phil. After some time, Roger began to hum a tune.
What's that song called again?
It's called, I can't seem to remember.
Yes, that one. You've been humming it all this fucking way. I always preferred getting drunk off my ass and singing with the Union boys. When the women saw that we were drunk, they came and joined us, snuggled up to our chests to see if they could squeeze any coin out from us after the hunt. We boasted about slaying monsters. We went to each town for hunting, and we all had proof on us in case they'd doubt it. I always kept the hide and sold it once I obtained a new one. Those things used to go for big money. Big money, Roger. After the plague, I doubt there's any more left in the West.
Which ones?
Mistress Winter's motherfucking lion-crocodile hybrids. Ugly as hell. Tough as fuck. You fought your fair share of monsters. Not as many as I have. You were more of a man-killer.
Roger raised an eyebrow, ducking under a low-hanging pine bough.
A scout.
Recon is good work. You were good, very good.
Phil stopped for a moment while following Roger and eyed the bushes. Tossing a knife, he hit something. Further investigation revealed it was a rabbit.
Dinner.
Picking up and placing it into the bag, they continued their route to the hideout. Phil huffed in exasperation.
So why the fuck are we in here with all the dead people? Don't those fucking pilgrims come here often to survey the area?
No, they can't reach beyond the forest. Their technology is rendered ineffective beyond a certain point inside this place.
He kicked a loose stone, sending it skittering across the forest floor.
Even so, seems like Crod's going out on a suicide mission. First, he comes back after we thought he died. Then he says he has this quote-unquote master plan. That one made me laugh. But the thing I couldn't quite figure out is, why the hell doesn't he want medical help? I mean, he was literally bleeding all over the fucking floor while I was talking to him a week or so ago. He wouldn't seek help from a doctor. And when I asked why, he avoided the question. And I asked him many questions. All he did was give me a damn note. It was fishy.
He can survive any sort of mortal wound, so why are you complaining?
Not from what I saw. I've never seen him bleed like that before. This is all sorts of wrong, Roger. He doesn't have a backup plan. He didn't even tell me anything about you or anyone else who may have survived. He seems so lifeless. Where is the ambition, the wonder, the shrugs, the little expressions he made when I said something funny? I'm telling you something's up. When things go sideways, I'm fucking off. Pilgrim or no pilgrim, they'll ice the shit out of us for sure when we begin to move.
The boundary law prevents them from directly interfering with us.
Phil spat on the needled ground.
Didn't you just say they'll eventually lock us up? Sounds like you're in denial, kid. That's only if we don't step on their shit. I've been profiled like everyone from the old organization. I've had a bounty on my head from each and every town, city, or shithole left after the plague. I guess I'm small, time unlike the old man. If we get involved with him, we're going to be tracked down like dogs by the ones in suits.
They reached what appeared to be a patch of land in ruin and rubble. It'd seen better days for sure, but the snow was cover enough. To understand where to go, Roger listened to the words coming from his head.
Through the entrance, meet the door. Knock 4 times. Go high, then low. Turn left at the 10th path. Make a right at the pans and pots on the ground.
A breeze sent a chill down Phil's back as he wanted oh so badly to get warm. He shooed along Roger, and they went into the small cave. It was damp and not lit. Feeling the walls in a few minutes, they came to a wooden door. Roger knocked on it 4 times. It creaked open, and still there was darkness. However, there happened to be a bundle of torches to the side. Picking up and lighting one, they saw how narrow the cave was. About 3 people wide, and an average person and a half tall. The tunnel seemed endless.
How much further?
It's going to be some time.
They then went through tens of pathways sloping high and low through the mountain. The bundle they carried seemed to go out one by one. They had one left, using it. Phil felt very uneasy. Roger patted him on the shoulder and motioned him onward.
So where to next?
Well, we haven't came across the pots and pans, so,
Phil dreaded this and wondered why they couldn't simply get a map instead.
Can't you ask the voice in your head why we don't use a map instead?
a map would be useless. And you've never been anywhere past the forest surrounding this territory. It's cursed land. It's guarded by a demon who lets no one pass without its say-so.
What the fuck kind of shit is that? We're fucking lost. I should have packed some rope to find our way back.
The sound of clanking could be heard. It was the sound of steel and sparks flying off from the wall. A cloaked figure was walking toward them slowly. The cloak the figure wore was an entire suit of scaled armor covering the entire body. It looked damn durable.
Finally!
Phil walked to the cloaked figure. Then a club was flung at his face in point-blank range.
Whoa, take it easy, would you?
Hey, I know you.
Stopping him by extending his hand, opening his left fist, and closing it. The man sheathed his club and stared at them. Phil crept around the cloaked man, and so did Roger. The scaled cloaked man looked at them and followed them down the remaining tunnel. Finally, they reached a large open area. Stalactites and stalagmites abundant. Passing them, they found a round, flat bedrock ground and some friendly company. Torches lit most of the underground area attached to the walls. Jasper leaned against a stalagmite, watching as the two drew near. Doc, with two faces, ate fish. Standing to Crod's left, kept himself up with a cane. Crod was slouched, sitting on a barrel, looking to the ground. The members of Crod's burgeoning new collective milled about in the wide cavern, speaking in hushed tones if they spoke at all. The scale-cloaked man stood utterly still in the far shadows, faceless watcher ever ready to bear silent witness. The cave was silent, but the voices, yes, the voices picked up in the old man's ears, began to talk. Droplets falling from the ceiling were the only thing they could hear. Everyone was waiting for someone to say something. The voices inside continued to grow less dormant. Phil looked bewildered.
So what the fuck do we do now?
Crod didn't say a word and was instead harassed by an old thin man wearing checkered pants who crept out from the shadows. He caressed Crod's face with his left hand and looked deeply into his eyes. There was some connection here. Pity for the old men.
What are you doing?
Ignoring Phil, the checkered man replied,
I'm sorry.
Who are you people? What the fuck is this? I tell you, this is some freaky shit, Roger. A mute, two. Two-faced freaks, frisky, pilgrim-looking cocksucker, and half-dead old nitwit. This place is a joke.
Calm down. Understand what's going on before you jump to conclusions.
They all give each other pacing glances while Crod just stares into space.
What are you here for?
What am I here for?
What are you here for? Why did you come if you knew this was stupid?
Phil thinks for a moment.
Well,
He looks around.
I mean, I don't want to be here, but...
You came anyway.
Phil shook his head bitterly.
Yeah. Maybe I just thought with Crod we'd somehow rebuild. But seeing this? No, it's too late now.
No. We can salvage this. All we need is to set some things in motion, get the ball moving again. This time we don't have the Union on our backs, and these softies in Cotton City are a bunch of pushovers.
They have surveillance everywhere. They know our faces and names, where we live, or should I say lived. What can we do? Don't you think they came up with a contingency if we resurfaced again? The plague was our cover for years, and now that it's gone, they're putting their noses into our lives again.
We can disable their technology. We can go anywhere and slip out undetected.
How?
The demon outside, the one that allows us to stay here. Oh, he can interfere with their technology. They aren't I to start and make it so that they don't find us.
Distracted by the weeping checkered man.
And him? Who's this old bastard?
My father.
No wonder you two...
The voices, they grew so loud. Such a nuisance. Why not listen?
Enough! Stop! You will stop this now. You are all under the same curse as me now. I hope you've come prepared.
Curse?
The curse.
Crawd gazed impassively at the ragtag band assembled before him, those still battered loyal enough to heed his abrupt call, and those who were new to the party. Without a word, he turned, ragged coat swirling, to face the rear cavern wall. Heavy chains lay coiled on the cave floor, leading to an ancient oak chest barred in black iron. The giant padlock clasped upon it clattered at Crawd's approach. Despite the chest's sizable girth, it rocked ever so slightly from side to side, like a beast shifting in troubled sleep. Doc shifted uneasily, his second face whispering in his ear as Crawd drew back the creaking lid. Jasper narrowed his eyes, poised to spring. Skin prickling, Roger watched Crawd plunge his hand directly into the writhing shadows. Inside lay not treasure, but instead a blood-blackened cavern, lined with raw, moist tissue and jagged bone. Nestled atop the nest of viscera were Crawd's letters. A guttural snarl erupted as a viscous form erupted to clamp down hard on Crawd's forearm. It was from here that the beast burst forth to ravage Crawd's unflinching arm. Rows of rotten teeth sawed through flesh, seeking to tear a hunk free to feed its unknowable biology. No eyes peered out, only gaping organic cavities surrounding a singular hunger. The company startled backward as one, hands flying to hidden weapons. Yet Crawd stood motionless, arm engulfed to the elbow, in the wooden creature's maw, as it thrashed and splintered the interior of its prison. With slow, patient movements, Crawd extracted several folded letters from the beast's gullet as it sought to gnaw his sturdy flesh from the bone. At last, a sharp double rap from Crawd's free hand caused the creature to release him with a disappointed whine. Slamming the lid closed, Crawd fastened the lock once more. He turned to proffer the extracted letters to his stunned followers. Arm dripping but otherwise unconcerned, pallid eyes betraying not a flicker of feeling.
Your assignments.
He handed them out begrudgingly. To Jasper, the scale-cloaked man, Doc, Phil, Roger, and lastly...
Don't fail me again.
The letter was dropped on the ground. The checkered man sulked in the corner of the cave, note in hand.
And these are my orders. With each complete, it will further our goal to re-establish a new world order.
What made you change your mind?
Follow my orders.
You didn't answer my question.
If anyone wants to leave, do it now, or forever hold your peace. I don't have time to explain myself. If you want to join, then me the fucking letter.
What's wrong with you?
Get the hell
Just leave him
out.
be.
For once in his life, Phil closed his mouth. Without a word, Crawd reached into his coat and withdrew 2 heavy pistols. Eyes boring into Roger and Phil, he lobbed a weapon to each, as if serving a tennis ball. Roger fumbled the abrupt missile against his chest, before gaining a firm grip, eyes wide. Phil managed a more graceful, one-handed snatch, though just barely. Reaching into his coat, Crawd produced some rounds of ammunition and drops them on the floor and departed to the barrel. Roger turned the new acquisition over curiously as Crawd looked on, devoid of expression. Roger had heard vague whispers of such weapons, but never before laid eyes upon their reality. Phil cleared his throat, masking his unease at the uncanny devices now entrusted to them.
They require those capsules to work.
Phil indicated the slim bullets packed with powder.
You slide it in here, pull back this lever to load, and pull the trigger to shoot. Aim the hole at whoever pisses you off, and try not to lose any fingers.
Jasper and Doc crept back into the shadows with their note in hand and left. The checkered man seemed hesitant to read his. Roger, however, bowed to his leader crowd and left with Phil. The scale-cloaked man went away as well. Outside, Doc and Jasper talked with another. Jasper secured the bandolier of knives across his chest as they headed out of the cave hideout, flexing his sharpened nails. He glanced over at Doc, who limped along on his cane. One of Doc's misshapen heads eyed Jasper curiously. A sly lie.
So, have you and I met before? I don't seem to remember you from my time with the Union.
No, you wouldn't remember me. Crawd found me more recently.
He tapped his cane, thinking.
To be honest, some days I barely remember myself.
Jasper raised an eyebrow.
What's that supposed to mean?
Let's just say I've undergone some changes lately. Been through a few deaths and rebirths now. It hasn't been pleasant.
I see. Crawd wrote that we're to head to Seoul. Any idea what he wants us to do there?
Doc held up his letter.
Mine contains details I cannot fully share yet. But let's just say we're to make contact with someone important.
Jasper frowned, puzzled by Crawd's cryptic instructions, so he gave another half-truth.
Wonder what he's after in Seoul. Crawd saved me as a boy there.
You two have quite the rapport. When did you join his circle?
Acting as if his voice was caught strangely in his throat.
I seem unable to say.
Doc nodded knowingly.
We each harbor demons.
He tapped his bulbous facial growth with the head of his cane.
Some more than others.
His second head whispering.
Liar.
Seeing Phil and Roger leave.
Give me a moment. How do you two know Crawd?
Phil being loose-lipped.
How do we know him? Why, he's the fucking name-taker. You live under a rock?
No, I've known him since I was a kid.
Are you related?
No. But I do consider him family.
How did he keep you a secret for so long? He hasn't told anyone his past.
He didn't tell you? Well, you see.
The words couldn't escape his mouth.
I'm sorry,
They waited for an explanation.
I can't seem to tell you right now.
That's fucking weird.
Jasper left with Doc. As the last of their supplies were gathered, Doc secured his patched cloak with fumbling hands, concealing his misshapen frame beneath the nondescript fabric. His second face muttered impatiently beneath the hood as Doc struggled with the clasp. Long used to the bizarre duality of his being, Doc paid it little mind.
What the hell was that?
Yeah, that's common around here. Both him and Crawd do that. In fact, almost everyone around here does that. I've done it a couple times too. It's like a brain freeze. You can't quite get the words out.
Okay. Maybe there is some kind of curse going around.
It's as if something is taking the words I want to say right out of my mouth.
Then who?
But he could not finish. Phil looked at Roger.
See, it could be a...
But he couldn't finish.
Weird. So what does the note say?
Phil ripped open the wax seal letter and read it. The note was beautifully written. It was so straight to the point. So ends Chapter 5.